Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamischa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhayeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. That was lovely. So maybe I can do the Sanskrit of the first verse. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. I'll just read it and then I'll ask you to repeat it afterwards. Dhritarashtra Bharacha Dharma Chitre Kurukshetre Samaveda Yayutsava Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Okay, please repeat. Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Dharma Chitre Kurukshetre
Dharma Chitre Kurukshetre
Samaveta Yayutsavaha
Samaveta Yuyutsavaha
Mamaka Pandavaschaiva
Mamaka Pandavaschaiva
Kim Akurvata Sanjaya.
Kim
Akurvata Sanjaya.
Okay. And the translation, anyone like to read?
Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
The purport. Just the first paragraph of the purport.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna.
Thank you, Kirti Mataji. So then a recap. Maybe I can just start with the recap. I will just say that we did the first sentence, explaining that the Bhagavad Gita was a song of God, and it's widely read. So it was read by many different classes of people from all across the world. So it appeals to everyone. And Kirti Mataji was saying that theistic science means that it involves a process that has a result. So she mentioned Sambandha, Abhideya, and Priyojana, understanding that we have a relationship, the method of cultivating that relationship, and then the goal of what happens once we've attained it. And then the science was summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, the Gita Mahatmya being the glorification written in the introduction by Sankaracharya, consisting of 7 verses. And there's many Mahatmyas, like Lord Shiva writes Mahatmya, and I think but there's, from different saints and sages, they've written glorifications, but Srila Prabhupada is into this one in the introduction. And that's basically where we ended. And you had a question, Kirti. Do you remember what that question was again? And if we answered it.
Yes, definitely. So the question was that as a newcomer to Bhagavad Gita, as a beginner, and as a beginner myself, like Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes here, is a theistic science. And how do I find the main messages of that science of understanding my relationship with the Lord, the science of understanding what I'm meant to be doing in that relationship? How do I find this essence, this science in the Bhagavad Gita as a beginner? Because the Bhagavad Gita is so vast, it seems like it'll take me so long to find the answers I'm looking for.
So that was a very nice question, and we did share some light on it. I don't know if you would like to also just explain what we came up with, if that's okay.
So the light that we had on it was later on. Actually, it's just in the next sentence. In answer to that, one of the answers to that question could be that it's with the help of a devotee of Lord Krishna that one can begin to understand the science of our relationship with the Lord. So that was a light. And then Neelachal Prabhu mentioned that actually the devotee of the Lord is in a way the personification of the Bhagavad Gita. So when we see devotees of the Lord, they're living examples of Bhagavad Gita. So by seeing them, by observing them, we can begin to understand the science of Krishna by seeing what they're doing, how they're doing things. So in that way, by following them, we are already trying to live the Bhagavad Gita. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is displayed by the devotees, because they are trying to at least live by the instructions. And they're a good example. I know somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita it also says that one should perform one's work more in a sense of being a good example for others. So even if you, we had a class this morning, where the Prabhu was saying that it was a Chaitanya Charitamrita class, but he was saying that you perform your work, but there's always, say you are a devotee, a brand new devotee in the temple, say you are there for 4 days, but there might be a bhakta that's there for 2 days, so you must still perform such an outstanding kind of, or be such a good example, so that should be such a good example, so that younger devotee, that junior devotee, gets a really nice experience or understanding of what you have learned and what you are applying. But then just put it down, check it out. He gave another example. Say a sannyasi travels alone on an airplane. The sannyasi, if he's alone on an airplane, he might watch, because the TV screen is built into the seat right in front of you. So sannyasis are, it's better for or any to travel alone, but how your behavior are affecting those. So if you have juniors, even if it's a buck, that association is so strong and such a vital thing that because you might have been tempted by being alone to watch something on that screen, because this bhakta is sitting to you, very insignificant, but because you have to set a good example, you'll refrain from watching anything on that screen. So just by having that kind of devotee association, it doesn't need to be advanced, the devotee association or anything, but you having the responsibility to be a good example for others means that that association is very important, and it also helps you. So let me just read that. Is that okay? I just want to read this. Okay. Is that all right? Sorry,
Yes.
Kirti.
Yeah, definitely. So I think my understanding, Nilachal Prabhu, is that we all have the responsibility to each other to help elevate each other to higher levels of
Yes.
high levels of focus on our path. And yeah, because
And there's always someone watching. So it's always good to be a good example. There's always, you might not notice it, but there's always someone who is watching and learning from everyone else. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. But thank you very much. That was a good understanding. So now I'm going to ask if is there anything else, Kirti? You finished off with the sentence by asking the question. Is there anything else on the sentence, or even Arvinda, if there's something on the first sentence of the introduction or of this purport that's not clear, or that you would like to try and understand, or if there's another question or anything like this, we can just kind of get to it now, and then we can maybe continue with the next sentence. Just if there is anything. Or do you think that we have handled it? We have covered it?
I think you've covered it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai. Okay, so maybe can I ask anyone, maybe Manohar Prabhu, would you like to do the next sentence? Just try to understand, and even you can maybe unpack certain words in it, or
Okay.
certain phrases, or whatever, or the whole sentence, or take a few sentences, or whatever you like.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. So I'll just read the sentence again for everybody's. There it says, that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. So, yeah, the words that stand out for me is scrutinizingly and with the help of somebody who understands the Bhagavad Gita, who understands a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna. So, yeah, so one should inquire from him submissively, from this person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna. And go through things step by step, systematically, so that, yeah, there's no, is hearing from a pure source, and one who's living, is a living example, and who's practicing the process of serving Lord Krishna, serving, or the Krishna conscious process. So, yeah, so one should become the student and ask different questions to this person who is worshipping Lord Krishna, who understands Lord Krishna, and that way one can study Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, in this method. So that's my take on that line. And
Okay, let's
yeah.
yeah, let's keep it short, so that someone can reflect it back to you, and then you can continue if you would like. So, yeah, I'm just I'm listening. So, is that okay? Would anyone like to reflect what Manohar Prabhu said?
I just had a thought occur to me that, there are so many versions of Bhagavad Gitas out there, so many devotees of Lord Krishna in different guises, I mean, how do you know?
Yes, that's a valuable question, and we have a section for these questions just after the understanding. And if you don't mind, just keep that. You might write it down, or you might remember it, but just keep that question, because it's very important for us to tackle that question and keep the focus on the question. But first, we would just like to try to understand what Manohar Prabhu has understood from that sentence, and then we develop it like that. So if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe sure. Maybe I can try and reflect what Manohar Prabhu was saying.
Okay.
Okay, so the Manohar Prabhu, you said that there's two words that stand out for you in the sentence, and it is scrutinizingly, and the point of understanding it through this personality that is a devotee of the Lord. I don't know if that was the two things, but what you went into is that when Krishna speaks, or when Srila Prabhupada mentions a devotee here, you see this devotee, or you're understanding this statement to mean a pure devotee who knows the Bhagavad Gita and is in the position where they can answer your questions, and you can ask them questions, and they are more like a self-realized soul in this sense. Did I understand your meaning, your understanding?
Yes, Prabhu, you have understood me correctly.
Okay, great. Is there anyone who understands this a little bit differently, or do you agree with the statement of a person who is a devotee of Krishna? Is that just a pure devotee, or is it a yeah, that's where this question comes in of what is a devotee of Krishna, you know. And there are certain places where they explain what a devotee is. There's a lot of different levels of devotee, but the statement doesn't really clearly say a pure devotee or a spiritual master or self-realized soul. It just says a devotee of Krishna. So what is that devotee? Yeah, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but it's okay. Maybe the thing is, just before we answer the question, does everyone understand it the same as Manohar Prabhu understands it? Like, it being referred, or does it refer here to someone who is a devotee? Is there a little bit of, can you understand this?
A devotee could be anybody in Srila Prabhupada's movement.
Okay, so your understanding of devotee is that it could be anyone in Srila Prabhupada's movement, anyone who's kind of on the process of surrender to Krishna.
Yes.
Okay, yes, that's a good understanding. Okay.
I also have, I don't know if it's similar to Mum's, but mine's is that, yeah, a devotee could be like anybody who has his goal as Krishna. Anyone's obviously who's in our lineage, and his focus and his life and soul is dedicated to this Krishna consciousness process.
That's a good understanding. Would anyone like to reflect what Kirti Mataji was saying there? Just so we can train ourselves in attentive hearing.
So if I can go. So Kitty
Yeah, sure.
Prada said that a devotee is anybody who is practicing Krishna consciousness and who is from the lineage. You mentioned that word. Yeah, that is her definition of a devotee. Have I understood you correctly?
Halfway, yeah. So you understood definitely the first bit. So in the line of Srila Prabhupada and who's practicing Krishna consciousness, and in addition to that, someone whose goal is Lord Krishna, and whose life and soul is dedicated to the process.
Okay, yes, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Can I also try to understand?
Yeah.
I know it's a bit repetitive, but it's great. It's great so that we can all kind of gain this understanding. So you're saying that a devotee of Krishna means that anyone is who is in this lineage of Krishna consciousness, and who is or at least trying, or who has Krishna as the end goal of their practice. So who are in this process of surrendering to Krishna, but with Krishna as the main goal. That is kind of a devotee, someone who is appealing to Krishna. Yeah, for like seeing Krishna as the main authority in that sense.
Yeah. Understood me.
Sure.
Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, maybe just to say something on this as well. I also understand it in this way that a devotee of Krishna, firstly, because we have the mercy of the Acharya's purports this means that we are associating with the pure devotees, because we don't just have the translation, we have the purports. The purports are the association that Manohar Prabhu is speaking of, the pure devotees, Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. So we are associating with them. But then it goes deeper. It has like layers. So the next layer is that we're discussing these understandings of the pure devotees with devotees who are more on our level, you could say, our peers and so on, who are also on this process or in this process of surrender, who sees Krishna as God, as the absolute truth, who is also developing this love for Krishna. But then a devotee can also mean anyone who has chanted Hare Krishna, because that's also stated that that if anyone chants Hare Krishna, Krishna considers them a devotee. But yes, as long as there's no inimical feeling towards Krishna, and they see Krishna as the absolute authority, that's kind of what a devotee is, right?
Mhm.
So it was a little bit much, but I don't know if anyone would like to try to just reflect a little bit of that back.
Mom, would you like to do that? Reflect back what Neelachal Prabhu just said. I can. You want to go?
Okay, you go first. Yeah.
So, Neelachal Prabhu, you explained that. I'm not sure if this is your understanding or the understanding that you've understood through other devotees as well. But I'll just say, so your understanding of devotees, that it can be on various levels. The first level is that of a pure devotee. So a pure devotee is like Srila Prabhupada, who we are associating with through reading the purports of Bhagavad Gita. And that's what Manohara Govinda Prabhu referred to, someone who's a pure devotee. Then another layer or level of devotee is one who is practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, or like our peers, and therefore we are, all of us are trying to understand the process, trying to understand the Lord together. And then the third level or layer you mentioned was anyone who's chanted the names of the Lord is also considered a devotee of the Lord. So I understood three layers of devotees.
Yes, thank you. You understood me perfectly. Yeah, my understanding was kind of just trying to summarize what I'm hearing here and what I kind of understand. What devotee is meant to mean. Manohar Prabhu, is there anything else in the sentence that you would like to understand? Maybe the whole thing, or if there's any kind of questions you have, or if anyone has any questions. Or
So just the last bit of that sentence, and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. So my understanding is that you shouldn't speculate. So that's why we have the devotee there, and that's why we engage in the discussion, so that any misinterpretations, it can be freely expressed to one another, like, have I understood it correctly? Or this is my thinking. Please help me and guide me. So that's what I understand. Yeah, try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. without personally motivated interpretations. That he doesn't want to gain anything without personally motivated interpretations. That's just simply put. Try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask anyone who would like to reflect it back, just raise your hand. Then at least I can see there's a little bit of a transcendental competition going on before I just jump in and I try to reflect. But if anyone feels inspired to reflect what Prabhu was saying, then you could just raise your hand. Okay, I will go then, if that's okay. So, Prabhu, you were understanding this part. Try to understand it. Try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. So, try to understand it is try to understand it without speculating. We have this tendency to speculate, but we have to try to understand it, reveal our understanding to others, and then humbly and submissively accept the if it needs to be realigned or corrected into the proper understanding. And then the next part is without personally motivated interpretations. And what I'm understanding you're saying it's pretty clear what it's saying, personally motivated interpretations without gain, without the goal of gaining something from reading, but also just to add something, that personally motivated interpretations could also mean that you have a color lens in front of your eyes. So it could be envy, it could be lust, it could be any kind of lens that is going to cover the pure understanding that or explanation that needs to come out. So even if you have some envy for Krishna, you will interpret a lot of these things as Krishna being a troller or a dictator or a lusty boy or something like that. So whatever is in your heart, whatever gunk or dust is there, impurities, that is kind of a lens that would cover your pure understanding, and then you'll misinterpret it. I don't know, is that kind of what you meant by what you said? That's kind of what I'm understanding that to be.
Yes.
Sorry for adding, but I just...
No, it's good that we add, because then, like you mentioned as well, Lakshya Prabhu, that we begin to understand it also in a different way. So it broadens the horizon of our thinking as well. So by doing that, we can also then begin to understand things from different perspectives. Because,
So would you like to? Would you care to reflect what I was trying to explain by try to say what personally motivated interpretation is?
So you reflected upon that line. Try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. That you emphasize on the last bit, that we have these different lenses which can come in the form of envy, greed, lust, and we can have these speculations about, oh, Krishna is this, Krishna is that. So then that hampers our understanding of the true meaning of Bhagavad Gita. So, personally motivated interpretations, but with the help of a devotee of the Lord, he can help us to see clearly and unblock or cleanse the dust in our hearts of these different things, envy, lust, greed, whatever it may be, so that we can then see Krishna for the magnificent person that he really is, for who he really is. So that's what I've understood from. Have I understood you correctly?
Yes, you understood me perfectly. That was a very nice understanding. I feel understood.
Yeah.
So, would anyone like to? Is there anything in the sentence that you would like to unpack a little bit? Is that fine? Not just Manohar Prabhu. If there's anyone who would like to, there's one thing here that I might say. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Krishna, and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. So, firstly, so in the Gita Mahatmya itself, it emphasizes that we should read the Bhagavad Gita scrutinizingly with the help of devotees, because it promises you something. And then also, it says here, try to understand. So it's not that we will understand it fully, but at least just that trying to understand it. Like now, we are humbly putting our egos aside, and we are trying to understand it without our own interpretation. Krishna is, or Srila Prabhupada is saying, this is the way that we have to try and understand. We have to at least try, be submissive, and try to understand what Prabhupada is saying in his purports, and what Krishna is meaning by speaking the Bhagavad Gita. So it's just, these two things. The Gita Mahatmya emphasizes that we have to read it scrutinizingly, and then we just have to try to understand it, because just by trying, it means that we let go of our ego and we can take on the right mood of submissiveness, and then we can start to gain a deeper insight on the Bhagavad Gita. So I don't know if anyone would like to reflect that back.
Your turn, Nom.
My turn. Now, I was thinking that the mind is so twisted that it'll interpret it how it wants to interpret it, and how do we stop it from doing that, really, because everybody's got agendas, and if they want to understand it one way, they'll understand it that way. And so it's really difficult, really. You really have to, I suppose it's easy for people with blank minds to sort of just take it in and understand it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm getting too old. I've seen too much.
Sure. Okay, so I'm just going to reflect back what you're saying. So I'll just skip ahead a little bit. You were saying that you can see the difficulty in people understanding the Bhagavad Gita the actual way that it's meant to be understood, because everyone's got an agenda and a different kind of way of seeing the Bhagavad Gita. So they will all interpret it in their way. Yes. So how is it that we could understand the Bhagavad Gita according to what the real alignment with the preceptors, with the acharyas, what that real meaning is? How can we really understand it in that way? Mm-hmm. And how can we kind of as maybe a practice for ourselves, let go of our misunderstandings or our conception of what it is, and really just open ourselves up to the real purport or the real understanding of what is meant. Did I understand you?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, so do you have a light on this kind of question you have? Could you maybe, with your amazing Sastric understanding, not no, it's just a joke, but would you have a light on your question? Maybe something that comes from the heart. How would you tackle this this question?
I suppose, well, it's kind of answered in this paragraph that you need to study it with a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna. So not try to do it yourself. But, yeah, as much association, devotee association as possible, really. That's the way.
Yes.
So the more you get devotee association, the more you listen, talk about it, the better understanding you'll have.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna try and understand what you're saying, but I might say just a little bit extra, but it's all trying. I'm just going to try and reaffirm what you're saying there, fortify what you're saying. So I would understand it in this way, your understanding, that you're saying that in the purport, Prabhupada emphasizes the association with devotees. And what I understand your meaning is that a devotee, if you're really a devotee of Krishna, then you have gained a certain quality, a certain softness in character, at least. So you have kind of dealt with the ego and with all these things. So you've come to a point of kind of a better understanding of what the scriptures are saying through your association with other devotees, advanced devotees, and so on. So just by this association itself, you open yourself up to be kind of realigned with the true meaning of the Bhagavad Gita, just by that association, because this other devotees, they will also not like really engage in debate and trying to prove that they are superior in their understanding, but they'll try to make you see it from the correct point of vision. Did I understand you a little bit?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that okay?
The more association you have, I think the environment is important as well, that you have to be in that the right environment as well. Although it's very difficult nowadays, if you're working, and it's like how the more you're with devotees, I think it's important.
So this whole discussion today is mostly about the importance of devotee association and how it can bring a completely different quality to your life and your understanding and your way of interpreting what is said. Yeah, I do agree with all these things. Yeah, today I also heard a really nice thing in the lecture this morning. When the Bhagavatam, when there's discussions like between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Rai and Maitreya and Vidura and all these kind of things, it's always in the morning or in the evening, because in the middle of the day, I know we're doing it now, but we're putting the sastra in the middle. But if they have like philosophical conversations, they do it either in the morning or in the evening, because that's really conducive to like go deeper in your heart and churn the pastimes and all these things. It's just the mood it's quiet and it's nice for that. So yeah, your environment plays a big role in the times of day and who you're spending time with. It all has a significant impact on the outcome of what we do. So it has been an hour, and we are going to end it here so that we stay. Don't know if anyone would like to say anything or chastise me or anything like that. That would be great.
I think just one, no chastisement, but just it's nice. We read the second sentence today of Bhagavad Gita, and by the mercy of spiritual master and Lord Krishna, this is what we're doing now. This is what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to read Bhagavad Gita in a bit more detail with the help of devotees of Lord Krishna, and we're trying to understand it clearly. We're trying to understand it clearly so we can make progress in our spiritual life, like try to understand the message of the Lord as devotees understand his message. So it's nice we read this sentence today because it confirms what we're doing is the right process. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of put this all together. What I'm realizing now, right, through our discussion and through what Arvinda was saying, Arvinda Mataji, and what you're saying now, and what Manohar Prabhu was saying. Method of this, if your own personal motivated interpretations in trying to understand the sastra and all these things, that means that we are removing the pure devotee out of the conversation. So someone who has their personal motivation don't believe Srila Prabhupada's purports. They only want to read the translation, and most of them skip over the purports because they have no faith in the Acharyas, because they have their own personal motivation. But if because we are in this line and we are trying to follow the authorities, like Prabhupada, in how to understand, it means that now the pure devotee enter Srila Prabhupada, and he the whole. He is there first in the middle, explaining us, and we are trying to understand the pure devotee through our association. So this is what makes it so potent. For someone who has a lens, who wants to gain something materially, or has a lens of envy or any kind of dirt in the heart, without the resolve of purifying the heart, for them this will be impossible to understand clearly, because they have already removed the most significant part, that pure devotee, out of the equation. So he doesn't enter the discussion. But with our discussions, we can say that Srila Prabhupada is right here with us, because we are trying to understand what he's saying. So that's what makes it potent. So I just wanted to say that.
I would just like to say that it can also be in terms of submissive. What does it mean to be submissive? And if you look at the picture on like that we see in the Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna,
Oh yeah.
yeah, submissive means like, yeah, a call to me, a call to the Lord, like prayer, like how we chant our japa, dear Lord, please help me. We can even call to the acharyas and to the Lord in this way that please help me to understand and not misinterpret not misinterpret any of these verses for my own selfish gain. So yeah, we can also pray to the Lord for our own rectification and to remove any anarthas and that, so that we can understand as well what the Lord is teaching us here and what the acharyas are trying to explain to us. So just to sum up, just a prayer to the acharyas, to our Lord, that please may we understand together in the association of devotees and yourself, the acharyas and the Lord, without any personal motivated interpretations.
That's very nice. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Manohar Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah, we have to be prayerful. And I like even just having this discussion with you all, appreciate it like every moment, because yes, I might be also very glitchy in my facilitating and all these things, but just by spending time with you, I'm gaining a lot out of it. So I just want to thank you all, and we can continue and gain and really get into yeah.
Sorry, Prabhu, you cut off a bit at the end
Okay.
of the important part. You cut off.
On the real nectar.
Oh. No, all I said was that I do really appreciate that we can spend time together, and that forgive me for my lack of good facilitating skills and all these things, but over time I'm prayerful that it'll improve, that we can gain some speed and really get into nice discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Been very, very beneficial so far.
Yes.
So just pray that we can continue.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Neela Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is like the highlight of the week, like having the chance to spend with the devotees and Bhagavad Gita. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for being a great and wonderful facilitator. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take that. I'll give it to my spiritual master and to Chintamani Dan Mataji.
Yeah.
Here's the on the screen is the website. If you would like to write that down, improvingsangha.com, and they've got a really nice explanation of how to do this, and there's training videos. So yeah.
Thank you, Neelachal Prabhu.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you everybody for your